Leonardo DiCaprio tells the world he cares about the planet. But then a $200,000 Fisker Karma shows up in his driveway. Reporters loved it at first, praising him as the green hero of Hollywood. Then in 2012, the battery supplier collapsed and critics accused him of pushing a failed experiment. So are Leonardo DiCaprio's cars actually eco-friendly? Or just millionaire luxury? Let's uncover it. Fisker Karma. A Hollywood star drives a silent luxury hybrid past screaming fans. A tech startup burns faster than its batteries charge. Leonardo DiCaprio presents himself as the new face of green luxury in 2011 when he invests early in Fisker Automotive. He believes the pitch instantly. Design first sustainability, independent soul, celebrity magnet. The Karma looks futuristic, low, glowing, stitched in recycled leather, promising 52 miles of electric purity before the gas engine wakes. It wins awards before owners even get deliveries. Karma orders hit 3,000 units in hours. Then reality joins the story. Battery supplier. A123 systems collapsed in 2012 after a costly recall of defective packs. Fisker halts production at 2,450 cars. Headlines shift from revolutionary to cautionary. DiCaprio stands in the center, smiling through a storm of failed logistics, supply chaos, and rising doubt. He never dumps his car. That matters more than the headlines. Most investors run first. He stays publicly loyal the longest, therefore turning the Karma into a symbol of belief instead of retreat. Environmental journalists frame the car as a contradiction. However, engineers defend it as premature genius. The 2-liter turbo gas extender catches criticism for sipping fuel. But the design plant's new ambition in the auto world, a car can exist to provoke, not just transport. The Karma lives in museums, private collections, and think pieces that argue about its legacy more than its specs. One question stays louder than all others. What if failure was part of the point? Because the next car in his garage proves speed creates revolutions faster than harmony. Tesla Roadster, 0 emissions, 2 seats, acceleration faster than doubt. In 2008, Leo took delivery of a black Tesla Roadster. Veen confirmed in early celebrity reservation logs, priced near $100,000 before options. This matters. Years before mass EV legitimacy, before charging stations multiply, before climate pledges trend socially, he chooses a car skeptics call a science toy. Then he drives it like a proof statement. 248 horsepower, 0 to 60 in 3.7 seconds. 244 miles of range. The world learns a new equation. Clean does more than commute. It launches, journalists grab stopwatch numbers first, ideology second. Owners swap stories of breaker-tripped home garages and extension cord experimentation. Early EV life lacks elegance, however the unpolished edges sell authenticity. Elon Musk calls the Roadster the spark of reinvention. Therefore, early adopters become footnotes of transformation. DiCaprio never speaks like a spec sheet. He speaks like someone who sees one technological domino leaning. The car acts louder than advocacy paparazzi photos of him plugging into casual outlets imprint a cultural memory more powerful than speeches. Critics expect quiet sustainability. They get an electric disturbance. Supporters expect elegance. They get garage tinkering and boundary pushing. The Roadster creates a new character type. Environmentalism with adrenaline and venture risk in the back seat. A star betting on acceleration shifts the mythology of green identity forever. However, mythology always needs an opposite image to complete the legend. And his next car paints it flawlessly. Toyota Prius 1 Hybrid 1 parking spot. A decade of symbolism. The Prius becomes a Hollywood totem, and Leo becomes its unofficial ambassador. Without signing a single contract, Toyota sold 24,000 Priuses globally in 2001. By 2007, sales burst past 1 million. The timing aligns so cleanly, people assume choreography. He drives the second-generation model when hybrid jokes still move faster than hybrid adoption. Therefore, the car turns cultural instead of commercial. Neighbors in LA mock it as a slow science fair project. Then Oscar nominees begin arriving in it. The Prius does 46 to 48 miles per gallon, but its real fuel becomes identity. It communicates choices without speeches. It parks ideology instead of horsepower in valet lines. Sociologists publish studies about the Prius effect, a vehicle granting moral status before street status. Leo understands instinctively. Interviewers try baiting him into climate soundbites. He shrugs them away and keeps driving. That restraint turns him from an example into a symbol. Humility performs louder than declarations. The Prius features in countless street shots, casual errands, and airport runs. The repetition builds legacy. Toyota engineers later admit surprise at how celebrity normalizes technology more efficiently than campaigns do. Cultural momentum wins faster than technical evangelism. He turns a compact liftback into a quiet, public ritual. That ritual sets expectations he can never fully escape. Because eventually, symbolism meets torque, and next in his collection, the horsepower refuses to whisper for anyone. Porsche 911 Turbo S Cabriolet 650 horsepower asks fewer questions than criticism supplies answers. Leo owns a 911 Turbo S Cabriolet, one of the quickest conversations on wheels 0 to 60 in 2.7 seconds, 205 miles per hour top speed. Twin-turbo flat-six engine rewriting the laws of impulse. The convertible version costs north of $200,000 before personalization weight drops. Speed rises, perception splits. Fans familiar with his environmental posture blink first. The 911 carries no metaphors, no hedging, no thesis, just acceleration and noise. Porsche builds a car that turns physics into theater. Leo buys a ticket and sits in the front row. Car culture purists cheer. Comment threads combust. However, contradictions create mythology faster than consistency builds admiration. Think Batman in the daytime. Think composed revolution with fingerprints of rebellion. Cars speak emotional truth long before rational alignment. 911 expresses adrenaline, celebration, craftsmanship, human appetite. That honesty forms narrative tension the Prius can never generate alone. The story grows richer layered than aligned. DiCaprio the investor, DiCaprio the commuter, DiCaprio the thrill seeker. Each clashes, therefore, each confirms the others. Nobody looks away from a moving paradox. Porsche builds machines for moments that refuse editing. He owns one of those moments. The sound of that moment reaches backward in time, toward a teenager saving for his first emotional vehicle, long before symbols or expectations. 1969, Ford Mustang. Before sustainability debates, before premieres, before Oscars, a teenager falls for a legend on four wheels. The 1969 Mustang exists like a pulse in American car history. 290 horsepower in base fast 8 form, Mach 1 trim pushing 335 horsepower, optional 428 Cobra Jet Ram Air. Inhaling streets like story fuel, it cost $2,832 new in 1969. Therefore, it became an accessible rebellion for a generation that wants cinematic freedom without film crews. Leo talks about muscle cars the way some people talk about first love. The Mustang labels no philosophy. It burns gasoline and nostalgia in equal measure. This model stars in Bullet, Gone in 60 Seconds, and thousands of private teenage dreams. He grew up lower middle class in Los Angeles, where aspiration sounds like carburetors at night. Owning one later in life closes no loops. It opens a mirror. Ambition begins with noise and desire, long before it matures into advocacy and boards. Emotional truth predates public narrative. Therefore, the Mustang stays in the garage like a bookmark to a chapter that predates ideology. Ford designs this car for motion, not messaging, but storytelling attaches anyway. V8 burble becomes biography, steering stiffness becomes memory, internal combustion becomes an internal monologue. None of it apologizes, because reinvention rarely deletes the past. It just upgrades the voltage, and that voltage changes form next. Cleaner, quieter, surgically modern. Polestar 2. One day electricity looks like a statement. The next day it looks like inevitability. No revolution feels loud when it finally arrives dressed this calmly. Polestar 2 enters the world without begging for attention. It speaks a language of clean lines, quiet confidence, and intelligent constraint. 408 horsepower split between dual motors. 0 to 60 miles per hour in 4.5 seconds. 270 miles of range in real-world mapping, not optimistic brochures. The interior trades leather for sustainable weave tech or vegan textiles. This choice triggers design conversations instead of debates. Leo gravitates toward objects that look resolved. Therefore, this car makes sense in his orbit. The infotainment runs on Android Automotive, built-in Google mapping, pre-planned charging routes that remove hesitation from long drives. This detail matters. Early electric ownership felt like pioneering. Polestar ownership feels like a rival, refined, practical, frictionless. Polestar begins under Volvo engineering but grows distinct, stripped of excess, loyal to minimal Scandinavian intention. Safety earns the brand legitimacy long before celebrity preference amplifies visibility. 5-star Euro NCAP ratings, side impact reinforcements, collision avoidance tuned with sensor seriousness. Leo puts miles on it quietly, press conferences notice later. Car culture tries to assign personalities too quickly, but the Polestar resists nicknames. It exists like a bridge between conscience and capability. Therefore, it attracts people who prefer progress without a performance costume. A car evolving from lifestyle accessory into problem-solving hardware. However, practicality alone never completes a Hollywood garage, because the very next chapter trades clean minimalism for plush human warmth, where silence shares space with comfort instead of philosophy. Volvo XC90 T8. This car carries fewer headlines and more life. Its story matters because subtle choices reveal more truth than loud ones ever explain. The Volvo XC90 T8 arrives like a passport between roles. 400 horsepower combined from gas and electric synergy. 0 to 60 miles per hour in 5.3 seconds. 18 to 30 miles of pure electric travel before the engine assists. This means school runs happen without emissions. Long trips happen without bargaining with range anxiety. Volvo builds the XC90 around a single question. What if protection was luxurious instead of clinical? The cabin becomes a sanctuary. Scandinavian walnut and softly illuminated interfaces. Bowers & Wilkins audio transforms traffic into private concert halls. Napa leather, laminated glass, optional massaging seats. None of it screams. All of it is comforting. Leo owns this model during years when tabloids hunt contradictions. A family-focused plug-in hybrid complicates the caricature. Therefore, the narrative shifts. Idealism grows older, gains corridors, grocery bags, co-pilots, quieter mornings. Volvo's safety record anchors the emotional core. City safety collision avoidance, pedestrian detection, intersection braking, rollover mitigation, blind spot intervention. Engineers add safety innovations not for applause but inheritance. Parents in crash tests thank Volvo in interviews. That gratitude holds weight no marketing budget can purchase. The XC90 T8 never demands interpretation. It simply performs responsibility at highway speed. Practicality earns credibility one uneventful trip at a time. Life happens in the spaces between premieres, and this car fits that truth perfectly. However, equilibrium invites disruption, and the next switch flips from composed maturity to unapologetic urban eccentricity that resembles a character more than a vehicle. BMW i3. It looks playful, almost gentle. Then the specification sheet begins smiling back at you. The BMW i3 enters like a design rebellion, wrapped in recycling philosophy. Production started in 2013, aimed at proving sustainability can look imaginative, not solemn. 170 horsepower in later models, 0 to 60 miles per hour in 6.8 seconds, turning radius tighter than most streets assume is legal. Early battery packs offer 80 to 100 miles. Later versions stretch past 150 plus real miles, bolstered optionally with a range extender gasoline generator. Practical, imperfect, progressive. The shell incorporates carbon fiber reinforced plastic to reduce weight. The dashboard uses fast-growing eucalyptus wood, responsibly harvested doors hinge coach style, swinging open like small theater acts in parking lots. The seats rest on recycled fabrics that feel more gallery than highway. Every material choice carries footnotes. Critics call it quirky. Owners call it intentional. Leo parks one. Of course he does. Because the i3 lives at the intersection of innovation and character, it never pretends to melt into background traffic. BMW expects discussion, therefore designs a talking point on wheels. Urban planners praise the car more than racers do. Compact dimensions, emissions consciousness, visual friendliness. Los Angeles paparazzi capture it as often as sports coupes, creating cognitive dissonance in glossy magazines that prefer predictable celebrity branding. The i3 breaks patterns on sight. Yet, unpredictability makes narrative magnetic. And magnetism eventually pulls toward excess again, where luxury ignores apology and size communicates volume before sound arrives. Audi Q7. Some cars whisper their intentions. This one clears its throat like a statement delivered with posture. The Audi Q7 occupies a different gravitational category. 3 rows, 5,000 pounds of presence, 335 horsepower in common trims, 0 to 60 miles per hour in 5.7 seconds when equipped with the 3.0-liter TFSI V6 Quattro all-wheel drive as standard doctrine. This car measures room, not restraint. Luxury inside the Q7 feels architectural. Virtual cockpit digital cluster, 30-color ambient lighting, acoustic glass ceiling conversations from the outside world. The doors close with weighted punctuation. Traffic pauses a beat longer when it passes. Sustainability critiques arrive predictably, however context complicates the headline, Hollywood logistics demand space. Motion picture schedules encourage vehicles that carry staff, luggage, security, equipment, or simply avoid questions during brief transit windows. Practical luxury rarely photographs its own explanation, so assumption fills the gap. Still, contradictions tighten the story instead of weakening it. A Q7 beside plug-in hybrids teaches a richer truth. People contain multitudes long before parking lots expose them. No life reduces to single themes. Humans contradict, garages archive those contradictions honestly. Audi's durability matters historically. Q7 models regularly push past 200,000 miles with maintenance consistency. Longevity itself becomes an environmental argument if measured patiently. A car lasting twice as long demands half the manufacturing footprint over time. And speaking of patience, the final car on this list perfects it, because enthusiasm meets longevity there, quietly and reliably without theatrics. Lexus RX Hybrid. No climax, no announcement, just consistency that refuses to break character. The Lexus RX Hybrid defines invisible stability. 308 combined horsepower in newer generations, 0 to 60 miles per hour in 7.7 seconds, 30 to 31 miles per gallon combined. Therefore, efficiency arrives without spectacle. The ride prioritizes serenity over theater. Lexus markets silence like an engineering discipline. Cabin noise registers at library low levels even on coarse pavement. The hybrid powertrain traces lineage back to Toyota's proven systems, which means reliability writes the loudest review. Consumer studies repeatedly rank Lexus at the top for long-term dependability. Owners report crossing 250,000 miles with original battery packs, still operational when treated predictably. Maintenance departments envy that reputation. Leo chooses one during years that reward steadiness over symbolism. The car asks nothing from public perception. It carries groceries, airports, meetings, late dinners, unchanged facial expressions. Therefore, it becomes invisible by design, unforgettable by contrast. Environmental messaging often aims for dramatic gestures. However, cumulative impact values consistency more than symbolism. A hybrid driven daily reduces more footprint than an emblem driven occasionally for headlines. Lexus understands this math deeply and never tries to make it seductive. It simply works, every day, without negotiation. The RX Hybrid closes the loop cleanly, not with fireworks, but credibility built in calm repetition. Influences shift culture through noise. They change reality through routine. The truth hides in garages and closed hangars, not in speeches. Click the next video on your screen right now before it disappears. Another story is waiting for you.